So, like many of you, I played a bunch of Watch Dogs this week, and while it's undoubtedly a really fun game, I was a little bit disappointed about the game world itself. You know, bugs and glitches and weird physics things notwithstanding, the world of Watch Dogs, the Chicago it creates, it doesn't really feel like a real tangible place. It feels like a construct, something made specifically for the player. Now, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but it made me ask the question, what is it about some game worlds that make them feel real, whereas others just feel like video games?
Watch Dogs is an open-world game in the vein of many other Ubisoft franchises. The player is given a variety of individual objectives in any given sector of the city. For instance, access this radio tower or hack this base. Each sector has its very own set of these missions, and you are essentially given a checklist of objectives to complete. The location and style of these objectives are handed to the player right at the start of the game. Though early Assassin's Creed games were more linear, exploration-based experiences, we've seen Ubisoft play this card before, most notably in Black Flag, where you were given a ship, a bunch of objectives, and all the time in the world to complete them. Destroying bases, hunting whales, climbing vantage points to unlock the map, you name it. Same with Far Cry 3, dozens of repeated sectors, with towers to climb, bases to destroy, and animals to hunt. These are objectives that are either displayed outright or unlockable throughout the game. This is not just an Ubisoft technique, we've seen it in loads of other open-world games like Infamous Second Son, Arkham City, Just Cause 2, to name just a few. It's become a staple of many open-world games, but at a cost. The world of Watch Dogs feels like it exists solely to serve the player. The objectives dotted around the map, the repeating missions, the upfront advancement of progression. Now, perhaps this is by design. I mean, it's a game about understanding a city as a system and then manipulating that system to your own means. But this makes the game feel a lot less believable, and not all open world games unravel this way.
Take Grand Theft Auto, perhaps the easiest game to compare Watch Dogs to, but also the poster child for believable modern open worlds. Now, maybe it's a bit of an unfair comparison, but bear with me on this one.
The world of Grand Theft Auto is no stranger to a map full of objective points, but the way in which these are introduced to the player is very different. At the start of a GTA game, the map is almost empty, and as you make your way through the game, you unlock new areas, new islands, or in the case of GTA 5, new objectives and side quests around the map. The more you play the game, the more objectives fill up the map, whether you've unlocked these via the campaign or just stumbled across them on your commute. The map is filling up alongside you. Your character is uncovering mysteries in the game world, right as you, the player, are becoming more familiar with the world yourself. It feels like natural exploration. And I know what you're thinking, it's easy to say that GTA is a believable world because of the way the people act realistically and the level of detail in those games, but really that's not why they suck you in. There are plenty of nice touches in Watch Dogs, and Infamous Second Son looks stunningly beautiful and real at times, but it's the way these games invite us in, the way we uncover these worlds as we do real places, that makes them believable. Anyone who's played early text-based D&D games or role-playing games like Ultima or even the Diablo series can understand the difference between a world that feels real as you explore it and one that appears to have been laid out like a playmat for the player. You start games like Fallout and Skyrim with a map that has hardly any objectives on it at all. You fill in that map yourself. The game is guiding you, but the puppet strings are hard to see. It feels like a real place that you are uncovering step by step, and empty areas of the map entice you to explore them. The world of Red Dead Redemption feels like a vast, isolating environment. There were objectives to carry out all over the place, but they were just spread apart so much that you were encouraged to get lost in the empty space between them. And it's in that empty space that you uncovered dozens of wonders of your own.
These side quests enrich the game with characters you may never have met and stories you might never have heard, and the idea that you could have gone through the entire game without encountering any of them is a really powerful one.
Compare this to Watch Dogs. Regardless of the scale of the game world, the marked objectives are so densely packed together that you know there's nothing in the space between them. We already know that there's nothing important in these areas because the game is outright telling us where everything important is. It destroys any wonders this world could have had, and turns it into a construct or set of levels like any other. And the funny thing is, despite its living, breathing world, Watch Dogs ends up being less believable than many linear games. The mysteries of Midgar, City 17, or even early Assassin's Creed games are unraveled level by level, but the world of Watch Dogs is pretty much an open book right from the off, both in terms of the environment and the activities therein. Now, there are other ways in which Watch Dogs makes its world unimmersive. The radio forces you to listen to CTOS public service announcements. All anyone in the street ever talks about is being being hacked or robbed, and people straight up recognize you in the street and take photos. So Watch Dogs is really trying to make you feel like the center of the world.
And that's exactly what the best open world games don't do.
Worlds like Los Santos, Skyrim, the Capital Wasteland, the deserts of Red Dead Redemption, these are worlds that are ambiguous to your presence. As if when you turned off your console and went to bed, the world inside the game kept spinning. Sure, by the end of the game you've left your mark on the world, but these are places that don't bend to your whim. They feel like they existed before you arrive, and they'll continue to do so long after you've perished. Part of the wonder of being in a new place is exploring it. The idea of the unknown is a powerful thing. What exists behind the fog of war? What will I learn tomorrow that I didn't know today? It's part of why we wake up in the morning, and in video games, it's why we salivate at the idea of new game worlds to explore.
Uncovering a place's mysteries makes us feel at home there. It creates a bond, and our favourite open world games understand this. They invite us to explore their world and to uncover their world's secrets for ourselves. Games, much like real life, are at their most powerful when they surprise us, and there's no surprise in Watch Dogs. Now, that doesn't make it a bad game, but what it does mean is that memories of Ubisoft Chicago will be long forgotten, while those of Mount Chiliad, Hennigan's Stead, and Solitude will live with us forever. Rob this lady's car. Hit Y.
You know, if this was a video game, we would probably go into that strip club.
You're over there if you want. That's popping off. The idea that you could have gone through the entire game without ever encountering them is a really fucking loud truck. Right? And the idea that San Francisco has some of the loudest cars in America was a really irritating one. She owes the bank money. He's got his ex-wife in that bag. That's why he looked at me that weird.